You are standing in a stadium with 60,000 strangers and you are screaming at the top of your lungs. At home, alone, you would never do this. You would feel embarrassed. You would feel exposed. But here, surrounded by bodies just as loud as yours, something in you lets go. You become someone else. And the strange part is, this isn't weakness. It's wiring. For most of human history, your survival depended on the group. Not on you, on the group. A lone human on the savannah 200,000 years ago was not a predator. A lone human was prey. Slow, weak-clawed, soft-skinned. The only real weapon you had was numbers. So your brain didn't evolve to optimize you as an individual. It evolved to optimize you as a member. That distinction changes everything. Psychologist Le Bon noticed this back in 1895, long before anyone had the tools to explain why it happened. He watched crowds in Paris and described something he called the group mind, a state where individuals seem to lose themselves and absorb the mood of everyone around them. He thought it was almost a kind of contagion. He wasn't entirely right about the mechanism, but he was right that something real was happening. What is actually happening? Your brain runs two competing systems almost constantly. One system asks, "What do I think is true?" The other asks, "What does the group think is true?" In isolation, the first system usually wins. In a crowd, the second system starts to take over. And it does it without asking your permission. Researcher Solomon Asch proved exactly how powerful this second system is. In the 1950s, he ran a now famous experiment. He put a person in a room with several others, all of whom were secretly instructed to give an obviously wrong answer to a simple visual question, like, which of three lines matched a reference line in length? The real participant could see with their own eyes that the group's answer was wrong. And yet, roughly a third of the time, they agreed with the group anyway. Not because they were stupid, because the social cost of standing alone against a unanimous group felt, to their nervous system, like a genuine threat. Think about that for a second. Your eyes told you one thing. The group told you another. And your brain, the same brain that prides itself on logic, chose the group. Why would evolution build something so seemingly irrational? Because for almost all of human history, being wrong with the group was survivable. Being right alone was often not. If the group believed a sound in the bushes meant danger and ran, the smart move was to run too, even if you personally thought it was nothing. Being correct and isolated didn't keep your genes in the pool. Being wrong and included did. This is the foundation of what scientists now call de-individuation, the loss of your personal identity inside a group identity. And it explains a lot more than stadium chanting. It explains why you felt a strange pull at a protest, a concert, a packed religious service, or even a heated online comment thread, where you suddenly feel emboldened to say things you'd never say face to face. The group becomes a kind of shield. Responsibility gets distributed. If everyone is shouting, no one person feels fully responsible for the shout. Psychologist Philip Zimbardo studied this directly. In experiments during the 1960s, he found that people wearing anonymizing clothing, like hoods or uniforms that obscured their identity, became more willing to administer what they believed were painful shocks to others compared to people whose faces and names were visible. Anonymity didn't just hide them from others. It seemed to quiet the part of their own mind that usually monitors their behavior. When you can't be singled out, The internal brake weakens. But here's the twist almost no one talks about. The crowd doesn't just make you worse, it can also make you better than you are alone. The same mechanism that lets a mob turn violent is the mechanism that lets a stranger run into traffic to save someone they've never met. Because everyone around them is already moving and the group's intention overrides personal hesitation. Researchers studying bystander behavior, building on the work of Bib Latane and John Darley, originally found the opposite effect too, what's called the bystander effect, where individuals in a large group are paradoxically less likely to help because everyone assumes someone else will act. The number of people in the crowd doesn't determine the outcome. The signal the crowd is sending determines it. A crowd that signals action breeds action. A crowd that signals passivity breeds passivity. Either way, you are not deciding alone. You almost never are. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You like to think of yourself as a fixed person with fixed values. Someone who would behave the same way whether you were alone in a room or standing in a 1,000-person crowd. But your brain does.